Okay, let's dive in. So the first thing that we want to do is, and I shouldn't say always, I just started talking about this last week, but you guys really need to continue to focus on not taking advice from people that you're more successful than. So we don't want to be giving our money to touts, again, the guys that don't care about us getting better and aren't winning players, versus the content producers that are winning players. And because they love DFS so much, they found a way to transition their love of playing the game into helping others. So they do a phenomenal job at that at DailyRoto. And DailyRoto has all of the big stuff covered, and we're going to get into that. We're primarily going to be focused on baseball, but everything that they do, I'm not joking, is first rate. So even though we're only focusing on baseball today, all their other products are awesome. So these are some of their team members that are involved in some of the niche sports. Tony with MMA, Golan with some of the niche stuff. Logan does a lot of behind-the-scenes work. So I did want to highlight these guys and mention them, but I want to get into some of the other guys that I've actually interacted with on the site and have, not a bit of a relationship. I mean, we're not dating or anything, but like the guys that are involved in the day-to-day process. That's from Boiler Room, by the way. So Chris Pacheco, the numbers guy, I mean, I wrote, this guy has forgot more stats than we could ever learn in a lifetime. Like, this guy is just on it. Like, he is a brilliant, brilliant dude. He has one of those minds that he can play this game in a way that I cannot. And that's what's so great about DFS, is just because your brain is wired, if you're, just a super slick with numbers like Chris is, like, you can be great at this. If you appreciate game theory and a simple approaches more like I do, like, there's many paths to victory, and that's what makes DFS so great. There's a lot of right answers. There's no real wrong answers. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good strategies can win other than doing dumb stuff. So we want to continue to cut out the dumb stuff. So you haven't heard me, that's not the first time you heard me say that, but Chris is just putting in the work. I know he assists with a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And then this last NBA season, like, he was on it. Like, they have a Slack chat. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the Slack chat, like, whenever there's late breaking news, like, we are in the Slack like a pack of hyenas, like, waiting for somebody to stop by to let us know that they're on the updates. And they always are. They always are. And then, like, if we're getting, like, super nervous, like, we're starting to sweat, like, oh my God, like 15 minutes to go. Like, come on, where are these guys? Like, we'll just, like, blast Pacheco, and he's like, what's up, guys? No problem, I'm on it. Boop, 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 boop. 3 minutes later, the push is out, refresh, and it's like, this guy's just calm, he's cool, and, you want somebody like that on your team when the pressure's on, especially for a sport like basketball, where whether or not you can get the updated information incorporated into your lineups is going to be the most integral part of winning each night. We want to have a good process, and we'll spend a ton of time about NBA in the fall, but if you can't keep up with the updated news, like, you're drawing dead. Like, you shouldn't play on DraftKings. You should stick to FanDuel and their dumb one-player drop thing or whatever. So Pacheco, awesome guy, and just, I know he does a ton of stuff behind the scenes. Drewby is Colin Drew, and he is super involved with the NHL product, and I was able to use NHL product this year, and he had a video tutorial on there, and I went from knowing nothing about NHL to learning enough to be able to be profitable. I didn't crush by any means, but because of his videos and their content, and that was the thing, like, their NHL product last year, it was like a sometimes thing, and this is a repeatable theme that you guys will see with DailyRoto and their consistent pursuit of excellence. A lot of people talk about, we're going to pursue excellence, and they talk about it. DailyRoto is about it. And this year they just decided, hey, that wasn't good enough, and they increased the frequency of the contributions to their NHL product. I think the only day where they weren't contributing to the NHL product was on Sundays, and that's just because, there's NFL and there's NBA stuff going on Sundays. That's way more important. So, they didn't leave any stone unturned, and they're continually finding ways to make their product better. And same thing with golf. Drewby did an awesome job with their golf product, and he is the driving factor behind the golf product week in and week out. Again, I'm a complete button masher when it comes to playing DFS golf, but if I did want to get really serious with it, starting with his articles is where I would go and what I would do. And then, of course, this guy's the NFL Showdown master. He had multiple six-figure scores last year playing the NFL Showdowns, and he just killed it. So this is what I'm talking about. You want guys that have won more money than you as the people that you are getting your content from, and that they're presenting it to you from a transparent place like these guys are. One of my favorite guys in all of DFS is Ricky. I remember Ricky from the site that he was at a couple years ago, and he would put out a daily article. He won like 80 grand in one day. I think it was like $85,000. It might be more. Ricky will have to correct me on that, but I know it was over $80,000. And he was basically like, I won 80 grand with these 5 guys, because he did a segment called Sanders Studs, and he won 80 grand with 5 of the guys that he recommended in his article. And I just thought, you know what, like, that's cool. Like, I hate when content providers are telling you to do one thing and then they're doing another thing. And I know that throughout the day the slate can change and they can't account for everything. Or, hey, I did a podcast on Tuesday, things changed on Wednesday. I didn't, I made my own personal adjustment on Thursday, and sorry I didn't tweet about it. Like, I get that, but I'm talking about some of the guys are purposely misleading, and that's not DailyRoto, and that's especially not Ricky. He's an NBA expert. That $80,000 pop was an NBA day. Guy is super sharp when it comes to NFL. Does a weekly stacking article. Major League Baseball, like, this guy gets it, and like, he's seemingly the nicest guy in DFS. He'll probably be like, no, I'm really not that nice in real life. I don't know, maybe he is, but like, he's the type of guy, like, you feel like you know him, and he's very gracious and self-deprecating on Twitter, and he is one of the guys that is everything that, in a perfect world DFS should be. So, and he's highly involved with the NBA product and helps out Chris Pacheco with a lot of the late news. Next up is Mike Leone, one of the co-founders, and I just feel like this dude just like crushes at life. Like, a lot of people talk about being like Renaissance men. Like, Mike really is, like, he is like the most interesting man in DFS. Like, I follow him obviously for DFS purposes, but like, I actually like everything else that he talks about more than DFS. And I love everything that he talks about DFS. Like, he's been doing, getting back into collecting cards, and it's like, dude, I loved doing that as a kid. Like, maybe I should get back into that. So it's just like, it's just cool, like, being able to, see a guy like that, just kind of takes life head on and seemingly does it so effortlessly. And, in his bio, he talks about, it's art, not science. And that's what I love about this guy, is like, he's so absorbed in everything that, some of us that are too busy to, spend the time doing. Like, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And Mike is always ready. And we're benefiting from that big time as members of DailyRoto. I think that, like, if we were playing football and the game's on the line, like, he is going to be the coolest guy in the huddle. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but the first Super Bowl that the 49ers won, or the Super Bowl when they had to do the 92-yard drive, and they call it the drive, before they got into the huddle, Dwight Clark tells a story. Joe Montana walks up to the huddle, the biggest moment of everybody's career, and he goes, hey, did you guys see John Candy? Because John Candy was at the Super Bowl game. Like, I feel like that's what, like, when we're all freaking out, like, that's the kind of, like, cool guy Mike would be, just like, dude, like, don't even stress on this. Like, we got this. And a lot of the times, especially playing a stressful sport like NBA, they have a lot of cooler heads that prevail behind the scenes that help us as players. When your neurons are firing at a ridiculous rate and you're starting to stress and you can't think clearly, it helps so much to have somebody that's like, dude, like, I got this. And that's why we team up with them. That's why we're outsourcing this part of our DFS business with a partner that gets it and appreciates it and has established a winning culture. And the winning culture definitely is, winning culture start at the top. And there's there's a lot of winners in DFS, but like fewer people I consider more of a winner than Drew Dinkmeyer. Like, this guy did it. Like, I jokingly say, like, I want to be Drew Dinkmeyer when I grow up. Like, he transitioned from, a professional career into full-time at DFS. Like, he won a Millionaire Maker. Like, he's running a great site. He's a really productive player. Like, he'll win $100,000 like on a Tuesday and then not play. Like, he just gets it. Like, he operates perfectly. Like, I would win $100,000. I haven't done that yet, but when and if I do, hopefully when I do, like, I know that I'll be like the next day, like, I can't wait to put this back in play. Like, the guy just is like wired perfectly for DFS, and especially leading a team and a website like they do at DailyRoto. Whenever I think of them being a first-class organization, I always think of Drew and Mike and what great examples they are, and it truly reflects in their team. It truly reflects in their members, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about their culture. But Drew is the definition of undeniable. I can't think of anybody that doesn't like Drew, but if there was somebody out there, the a-hole out there that doesn't like him, there's no way they can deny how meaningful that this guy has been to DFS and how good of a player he is. And he's built a monster with this site, and there's no slowing down. There's no slowing down in sight. And we're gonna get to their chat slat, but like their Slack chat. At least once a video series, I botched some words, but there'll be like arguments in the Slack chat, and not very many, and they're all good natured. And then like Drew shows up, and like he ends the conversation. Like he will show up in such a convincing way that you don't want to be on the receiving end of what he has to say. So like there's actually like an emoji in there of a slam dunk that like we all do when Drew throws down. And of course it's all good natured, but like we go back to talking about being the dumbest guy in the room. Like you always want to be the dumbest guy in the room, especially DFS. Like I'm in their Slack chat every single day, and most days I don't say anything. I just want to be there like a sponge and absorb everything I can from their team members. And they have like some really ace, top of the top, cream of the crop, top 1% players that play on DailyRoto and in those chats every day. Like players like I'm trying to be like TJ or Skip Bitter. Some of those guys, Cleveland Phil, like those guys are amazing players, and they're in there every single day dropping knowledge. So I just try to be like a sponge, and I really appreciate the culture and the site and everything that Drew and Mike have built. But I wanted to save this last team member for last, and that's Ben Kramer. And the reason being is I'm not a DailyRoto member if it weren't for Ben. People ask me like, hey, what are your goals for going public with your content? And I'm a big fan of the book, The Go-Giver. And so my big number one goal is I want to be the go-giver of DFS. Like, hey, if you need something and I got it, I'll get it to you. But if I don't have it, let me show you where to find it. And I needed CFL help. And I don't know how I came across, probably from like doing a rabbit hole, CFL search, trying to find somebody that did CFL content. And, the only person that I got any confidence from was Ben. And, his stuff was going to be posted on DailyRoto. And I'd heard about DailyRoto, and I was familiar with, Mike and Drew, but I wasn't a part of their site. So this was last summer, actually almost a year to this date. It would have been like a couple weeks ago, whenever CFL started. And I came by for Ben's content. He's the reason that I found DailyRoto. The guy is just an ace at what he does with CFL. He does a great article every single week. I've learned more about the CFL from him than anybody else. He just joined a great CFL podcast that I used to listen to a few years ago. Now he's on it, so that's awesome. But more than anything, Ben is the epitome of what DFS should be like. He's just a great guy. He's always positive. He's not, feeling sorry for himself if things don't go his way, or playing the blame game if one of his, write-up people don't do very well. He's a pro's pro, and he's a great guy. So I just want to thank Ben. I came to DailyRoto for Ben, and I've stuck around. I think I've had a subscription for, this will be, my 1 year anniversary or whatever. So thanks. Thanks, DailyRoto. 1 year. Can't wait for the second. So yeah, these guys are awesome, and this is what's important about, before we support with our dollars, we need to know the players behind it and make sure that, hey, if we're going to give our hard-earned dollars, like let's give it to people that we're going to learn from, that are doing the right thing for the industry. And I think I would, I don't want to speak for Drew and Mike, but I would say that they pride themselves in welcoming and bringing on the right team members. And they have a couple other sites that they're affiliated with and sister sites, and there's other great people that work there too. But I want to speak specifically to the guys that I have experience working with or learning from, and everybody mentioned so far is just an absolute stud. And these guys built a great team, and I've learned just an incredible amount this last year, and I'm already looking forward to everything I'm going to be learning in year two. So thank you guys. Come back for the next section, and we'll talk about their culture and what makes it so special.